Hopefully it won't be too much longer. We'll get to everybody's questions, everybody's chats here. Looks like we're just slowly getting live now, so that's great. I'm hoping everybody can tune in here. And we're getting questions already, so that's awesome. We'll just give a couple minutes here for everybody to get started here. Welcome to the MLB Sunday chat here on Baseball Rambles. Glad everybody could show up today. Really interested to getting into all your questions, all the news over the last 2 weeks for MLB. We're going to get into all that juicy stuff. And at the end of the live stream today, we're going to talk about a giveaway that's coming up. That's right, we're going to be celebrating 500 subscribers. So thank you so much. Tip of my hat to all of you guys who have shown up, supported me, subscribed, all those good things. Really appreciate it. So we're going to be doing an awesome giveaway this time, and it's a cameo by Nate Pearson. So you're going to get a personalized message delivered to you by nobody else than Nate Pearson from the Toronto Blue Jays. So it's a really cool giveaway, and we'll get into that at the end. So let's get into some of the questions here right off the bat. And it's funny, the first question that's proposed to me is a question I wanted to talk about, and is the Jays rotation set now? I think it might be. I was really wondering if the Jays were going to go in on Paxton. He was sort of like the last piece to me that I thought the Jays could sign. They were going to get him on a one-year contract. Looks like the Marlins are paying $10 million, 8.5 plus an additional 1.5 in bonuses and incentives. Would have been a really nice fit, cost-effective for the Jays. So I'm not sure why the Jays passed on that. It's either going to come down to maybe they got something else up their sleeve that we don't know about, maybe an additional trade, or maybe there is another signing, and that worries me a bit because really to me the only two pitchers left worth signing is either Taijuan Walker or Jake Odorizzi. And I'm not saying anything against either player. I like Taijuan Walker a little bit higher than Jake Odorizzi. Jake Odorizzi had that awful season, over 5.0 ERA last season, and a couple seasons just dismissed from another high ERA season. So I'm not sure what type of Jake Odorizzi is going to show up. The reason why Jake Odorizzi hasn't signed yet, in my opinion, is he's looking for that 3-year, $50 million contract, maybe 45. And to me, that's just too expensive, too much of a gamble on a pitcher like Jake to come to the Jays. Just how I see it. He's also, I don't know what his age is, but he's getting up there as well. Taijuan Walker's probably looking for something around 2, maybe for 30. So that's interesting there. But then if we're getting into 2 for 30, I don't know why the Jays aren't getting more aggressive and maybe trying to pick up David Price's contract. Price would cost us $16 million for the next 2 years. The Dodgers have said that they will listen to offers on David Price. They said that, interestingly enough, a week before they signed Trevor Bauer. So I'm wondering if, pardon me, scratch my back, if they're making room there to lower their payroll. And their payroll is just obscene. We'll get into that in a second. But that's where I say if the Jays are going to make a play, maybe David Price is a better option than Taijuan Walker. I know David Price didn't pitch last year, but that had a lot to do with COVID. He had a newborn plus another young child there. And he also had that cyst removed from his wrist. So that's going to be the real question. But having that cyst removed, it wasn't like it was an elbow or a shoulder structural damage. It was just something that was irritating him and causing his pitches to decline. So I think David Price is actually going to have a decent year. I think he's going to have one of those bounce back years like he was having in his later seasons with the Boston Red Sox. Certainly under 4.0 ERA. And to me, a little bit of a better gamble than Taijuan Walker. Taijuan Walker would be an okay fit too. And the number 2 starting pitcher behind, somebody just commented on that. Probably Nate Pearson. Nate Pearson, this is going to be an interesting year for Nate Pearson, certainly. This is a year where he has to prove that he is ready to come up to the MLB level. And let's not forget that I'm not saying he was rushed to a certain degree up to the MLB level, but he was certainly pushed a little bit more aggressively to a certain degree. I think that's why he was a little bit shaky last season, had that high ERA. He just needs some time to adjust. The big thing about Nate Pearson that hasn't been really explicitly discussed is his innings limit pitch. It'll probably come up a little bit more as we get into spring training. Pardon me, my puppy's here having a drink if you hear it in the background. But he's probably going to be maybe 150 innings tops for Nate Pearson. So you're looking at maybe 22 to maybe 25 starts on the high end, probably 22. So you're looking to have to make up 10 starts for Nate Pearson. Nate Pearson most certainly will be shut down come mid-September. So if the Jays are even in any type of playoff consideration, Nate Pearson's not going to be in that conversation. It's just not going to happen this year. Certainly will happen next year. In fact, I don't know if Nate Pearson has thrown over 100 innings yet in a high developed league. I'm talking AAA or even the major leagues. We know certainly not for the major leagues, but I think he was only limited to about 60 or 70 innings in AAA, and then he was promoted. So he hasn't had a lot of time to adjust. So I guess we have to be a little bit easy on Nate Pearson. I don't want high expectations like we had with Vladdy. I think if Nate Pearson could come in and just start to solidify himself, really get himself established in that rotation and that starter role. If he has an ERA under 4, that's awesome. I really just want to see Nate Pearson be the type of Nate Pearson that we can see for 2022 and 2023. And yeah, the limit on the innings, that's going to be interesting because it's just going to come down. I can't see them stretching out over 150 innings. So for me, it's going to be what I would really like to see the Jays do. I don't know if there's a way to sort of push him in spring training. Maybe he starts in May. I don't know how that would affect his regiment. That would certainly extend him into September. I would have to really do some research if they've ever been in a position where an organization was playoff bound, where the Jays could be, but was really relying on a pitcher who was only in his second year of the majors. And everybody puts these guys on inning limit pitches. And with Toronto's management being so aggressive in 2020 about limiting pitchers to how many innings they're going to pitch, it's certainly going to happen with Nate Pearson. Yeah, Robbie Ray. Robbie Ray is very interesting to me. I'm not sure. Robbie Ray was a little bit of an anomaly to me. I'll admit that. He wasn't the type of pitcher who I was like, oh, okay. He is, wow. Just didn't have the homework done on him. I saw him pitch last year, and I was a little bit worried. I saw some control issues with Robbie Ray, but that's the reason why Robbie Ray was ultimately traded anyways. However, when Ray's good, he is dominant. So I'm really hoping that either out of Ray or Tanner Roark, one of those two guys has a rebound year. Tanner Roark was just awful last year, but Tanner Roark has the ability to pitch under a 4.0. So if we can get Tanner Roark even to a little bit of what he used to be, I guess that's a win for him because he's going to be our number 5. Robbie Ray's probably going to be our number 4. You got Ryu, Pearson, and then I guess it's going to be the acquisition of, is it Mets? Yeah, from the Mets. And that's where I was like, I think the Jays really need some starting pitching. I think the Jays maybe are just being a little bit hesitant. Maybe they're waiting for that mid-season trade. Maybe they're waiting to see if some organizations open up their arms. I'm not suggesting Mad Bum, but he's certainly going to be somebody who wants to be shipped out of Arizona. You're going to have maybe Sonny Gray in the Reds organization if they don't trade him right off the hop. So there are a few pieces, even Kyle Hendricks, who I think would be an awesome steal for anybody who gets Kyle Hendricks. If anybody knows anything about Kyle Hendricks, he has only had one season in his entire career where he's had an ERA over 3.50. He is extremely consistent. He pitches very well, and he's got pinpoint precision. He's a lot like Ryu in a lot of ways. So I would really, really definitely love to see the Jays get aggressive over Kyle Hendricks. But right now with the Jays rotation, I don't know. It's going to be a tough one. I just did a vlog on this recently where I said the Jays, if they don't add another piece to their rotation, certainly if they don't add it by the All-Star break, they're going to be in some thick competition to get those 2 wild card spots. And now that we're not having the expanded playoffs this year, it's going to be a very tough battle. We got really lucky in the Jays organization that they had that expanded playoffs last year. That's the only reason why we were in the playoffs. And I think that gave some Jays fans like, well, we got to make it this year. And we might not. It's going to come down to one of those playoff spots are certainly going to go to the Twins or the White Sox. So now the Jays are in the thick of it with Oakland, with Tampa, with Houston Astros. there are some teams there that are going to give the Jays a run for their money, and they're definitely playing for the wild card spot. If they didn't get that solid number 2 starter, there's no way they're going to overtake the Yankees unless the Yankees just have a complete breakdown or Garrett Cole gets hurt. If Cole gets hurt for the Yankees, that's going to be a disaster over there in Yankee land. Trevor Bauer, yeah, let's get into that because people said, "Oh, you're a hater for Trevor Bauer." And it's not that I'm a hater for Trevor Bauer. Trevor Bauer, he's got dominant stuff. He was a Cy Young winner last year, so I'm not suggesting that. What I'm suggesting is paying $42.5 million for Trevor Bauer. That's insane. I'm sorry, and that's what it's going to be. He's going to opt out after year 2. He's not going to take that 15 or 20 million bucks for the 3rd year. He's going to take the 2 years at $85 million, $42.5 million. And I just did this vlog yesterday. It's going to have a ripple effect through the entire Dodgers organization. It's going to start with how they're going to get aggressive in re-signing or extended Clayton Kershaw. That's the first big thing. Clayton Kershaw did a interview. He was vague on it, and maybe I pushed the issue a little too much in my vlog. But basically, it came down to asking Clayton Kershaw, are you going to retire a Dodger? And Clayton Kershaw said, it would be awesome to stay with one organization for your entire career, but it's just not as important to me anymore. Very interesting quote coming from Clayton Kershaw. And to me, I kind of translate that, and maybe I'm being a little aggressive on that, is that the Dodgers are going to have to pay Clayton Kershaw $40 million, 3 years, probably around 125 million bucks if they want to get him re-signed next year. And they are already at 250 to 260 million dollars in payroll. They're going to get hit huge on that. They're going back 10 spots in their draft pick, so their first draft pick is going to be like 40 or something ridiculous like that. And this is going to happen for a few years. Now, the Dodgers can afford this. It's not a question about that. It's a question of how are the Dodgers going to rebound maybe 3 or 4 years from now when their farm system is completely empty. That's going to be the problem with the Dodgers. They definitely, in my opinion, have to slash a bit of payroll, but it's more about protecting their farm system than maybe paying the penalty taxes. And Trevor Bauer, $42.5 million for a guy who, when he first came over to the Cincinnati Reds, pitched 6.69 ERA. Wow. I don't know. Just not my thing to risk $42.5 million on it. Yeah, $1.25 million a start. Sean just mentioned that in the comments there. Unbelievable. Just to me, it's insane. And I get a little bit disheartened when I see contracts go out for $42.5 million. I don't want to get into the collective bargaining agreement with the players in the union. I know there has to be some sort of agreement that comes out for revenue sharing that's a little bit more pro-player. But right now, it's tough. Imagine being Pittsburgh Pirates and your entire team's budget. I know they're in rebound year. It's going to be $50 million, almost the equivalent of one player on the Dodgers. It makes it very, very difficult for some of these smaller market teams to compete against teams like the Dodgers when you have teams that can only afford $60 to $80 million in payroll, and then you got the Dodgers spending $260 million. And I know that doesn't always, turn into a World Series win. Look at Tampa Bay last year. Look at how minimal their budget was. But it makes it a lot harder for these small teams to compete. And it's a bit disingenuous, if you could say, to the fan base. It's tough being a fan maybe in Pittsburgh or Minnesota, where you got these teams that are just under a limited budget. And Trevor Bauer, he's just so flamboyant. And that's the thing that frustrated me about the Dodgers. The Dodgers actually had a decent rotation. They didn't have to sign Trevor Bauer. They're doing this, I think, bit of a knee-jerk reaction to maybe what the Padres have done this season. But if I could do it differently, I would have just gone out and signed somebody like James Paxton for them. They could have signed James Paxton for $10 million, would have gave him that insurance. Boom, bang, it's done. They could have signed Justin Turner, and they probably would have been around $230, $220 million on the payroll. They could have even shaved that $10 million and still protected their farm system. So I don't know. I was really surprised with how aggressive the Dodgers were with Trevor Bauer. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Trevor Bauer will throw some 2.0 ERA, go on a Cy Young Award winning streak next year and be the make or break for the Dodgers. So, hey, I'm hoping Trevor Bauer, maybe he proves me wrong, but I just don't see it happening. And it goes into the latest signing with the Dodgers, Justin Turner, $34 million over 2 years. Certainly a little bit higher than I thought. I always suspected that Turner was going to end up in the Dodgers. Just $34 million. Wow. I guess the Dodgers are just made of money. And I'm just curious why people rate Justin Turner so high. Maybe I'm just not a fan. It has nothing to do with the whole COVID situation where he ran onto the field. I just see him as a third baseman who is actually turning into more of a DH. If you look at his defensive ability on third base over the last couple seasons, it has started to crash. So I'm not sure if they're going to be completely satisfied with Turner at third base. Maybe it's just one of those signings where they had to appease a fan base to a certain degree. I don't know. I know that's certainly why the Cardinals brought back Adam Wainwright and Yadi, but I don't know. And do I hate the Dodgers generally? No. This is a funny thing. They're like, the Dodgers are my National League team. I'm actually a fan of the Dodgers just because of their history. It's just a head scratcher of what the Dodgers are doing lately. And one of my favorite players is Clayton Kershaw, so maybe I'm just a little bit overprotective of him. I don't know. I don't think Clayton Kershaw needs my protection, but maybe that's what it is with me. So yeah, but I do like the Dodgers. I'm a big fan of the Dodgers organization. I appreciate what Oakland does. Maybe it's just a money ball thing, and I'm a fan of that, but I've always liked Oakland and what they've done. And there's something about Tampa Bay that I appreciate. They beat up my Blue Jays time and time again, but if you want to see a system where they completely put a lot of emphasis into their farm system, an organization that does that, look at Tampa Bay, because they're one of the best at developing their farm system. Unfortunately, with Tampa Bay, they trade away all their players, so their fan base gets completely discouraged, and that's unfortunately what's going to lead to Tampa Bay probably becoming the Montreal Expos before 2030. It's just what's going to happen there, I suspect. I'm not too sure, though. Going on to our news, though, today, where is Jackie Bradley Jr. going to sign? I guess he's like the last man standing in a lot of ways. He's the last big free agent out there. There's rumors that he's looking for that 4-year, $60 million contract. Wow. I thought Jackie Bradley was looking at like 2 years, $20 million. Certainly not $60 or $50 million. I don't know what he's, standing there. Maybe he's a Boris contract. Boris client, Scott Boris. Make a joke there. Pardon me as I have a sip. I really thought the Jays might be in on him. We got George Springer, so I'm happy with that upgrade. I thought maybe the Mets. That seems to be the rumors now, but that's dying down now too. I'm wondering if Jackie Bradley is going to be one of those players that finds himself without a home. And I'm wondering if this is actually going to go into spring training. I haven't heard a lot of Jackie Bradley rumors lately. He's really pushing for that 4-year contract. I said 2. So I'm going to cut it in the middle now and say maybe he gets 3 years, 30, 35 million, but certainly not what Jackie Bradley wants. And it's just one of those things this year that a lot of players or big free agents had to deal with COVID and money and revenue not coming into these organizations. A lot of organizations were really cutting costs. That's why we got George Springer for $150 instead of $200. That's why the Phillies got a huge deal on JT Realmuto. He probably would have got $200 million in any other season. Jay's first base, that's going to be Vladdy. Vladdy all the way. It's going to be really interesting because somebody just brought this up, and I'm curious now. What are we going to do with Tellez? Because if Vladdy is the first baseman for the Jays moving forward, the Jays aren't going to... They're in a bit of a conundrum with Vladdy. I'm quite certain that they don't want Vladdy playing third base. Vladdy really wants to play third base, so hopefully that doesn't cause friction at the beginning of the season. And Vladdy, I think, just has to understand, maybe I'm a bit naive, that he's built to be a first baseman DH. That's just what I've seen in Vladdy. So what is Tellez going to be? I think he's going to be our DH, but it's going to be a matter of moving probably one of the outfielders and benching them. So for us to get this done, it's going to be either benching Tellez or Randall Grichuk, and I think it's going to be a combination of Tellez and Grichuk taking on that DH spot throughout the season. And they're just going to see which one has maybe more power, I don't want to say power, it's probably going to come down to consistency. And that's just a thing that Rowdy Tellez has to do. Randall Grichuk, he's playing for his contract, for what he's making. He's actually not doing too bad. Rowdy, though, Tellez has some of the best power that I've seen in one of the Jays players in a long time. This guy can hit, and he can hit hard. Big question is, though, pitchers seem to be able to expose him, and I think it was with the high fastball. I'll have to go back there, and they were really pounding on him last season, and that's what was leading to his high strikeouts. So I'm hoping Tellez, pardon me, is going to be able to adjust this season to a certain degree, get a little bit more consistent with the batting, and maybe not be that guy that we're counting on for the power hitting. I don't want him to end up like a Joey Gallo, you know, the type of guy who hits 400 or 40 home runs a year, but also has a batting average of like 230. For me, for Tellez to be really sensational with the Jays, I would take less home runs and a more consistent batting average. But I think for the beginning of the season, there's going to be some interesting competition pieces going with the Jays. If the Jays are going to make a mid-season trade, if they're going to go all in and get aggressive in June or July for the postseason this year, they're certainly going to have to get a decent starting pitcher. I know I just said this at the beginning of our conversation, but to get that done, it's probably going to be one of the outfielder pieces or Tellez. So what the Jays have to do, because we're not going to be able to trade Randal Grichuk for a decent starting pitcher. It's just not going to happen. If Randal gets shipped out, it's just going to be to shave payroll, maybe get a bullpen piece or a draft pick or something small like that, or not draft pick, prospect, sorry. But Tellez, Lourdes, and Teoscar, they all have a lot of value, and I think with those three players, maybe even Biggio if you want to include that, but I can't see him just because he's super utility. For the first couple months of the Jays season, they're going to decide which one of those players are expendable, which one of those players has the best value to get that trade for that starter. That's what I suspect will happen with Tellez or Gurriel Jr. or Teoscar. And I love Tellez, but if we were to trade, Tellez for somebody like 3 years of Sonny Gray, I would be okay with that. It's a tough pill to swallow. But if the Jays are going to make a trade for a decent number two, we're shipping out somebody who has a ton of value anyway, so it's going to be a tough pill no matter who it is we ship out. Yeah, Derek Fisher's gone. Oh, thank God for that. Sorry, Derek Fisher I feel bad for. He's a lot like, somebody compared him to Billy Beane, actually, the general manager of the Oakland A's. Billy Beane, if you don't know, really struggled coming up, and Derek Fisher was supposed to be one of those awesome baseball players that just couldn't get it together. I hope maybe he finds a home in maybe Baltimore, Boston, Pittsburgh, one of those rebuilding teams, and maybe you'll see something good come out of Derek Fisher. I'm not a Derek Fisher hater, but he's certainly not what we need for the Jays, so we'll just have to wait and see. Going on, though, here's another interesting question. Who's going to be playing third base for the Mets? The Mets have been recently connected with Chris Bryant, and now, happy to say it, Chapman out of Oakland. Because I did a vlog on Chapman a month ago, and I said, I think Oakland might consider trading him. And now there's a lot of conversation. If the Mets got Matt Chapman out of Oakland, that'd be a nice grab for them. I know he's coming off of hip surgery, but he's a decent third baseman. He's no Josh Donaldson. I'm not suggesting that, but he would be an awesome upgrade and certainly a lot better than Chris Bryant. But I have a feeling that the Mets are going to pull off one more big trade, and this is what's holding up the Jackie Bradley Jr. signing. And they're going to get either Chris Bryant or Matt Chapman. Either one's going to be another awesome, addition to the Mets organization. I'm just curious which one it's going to be. It looks like the Jays and the Chris Bryant rumors have dwindled down to absolutely nothing. Jays, I don't think, are going to add any other big pieces for their infield. We signed Marcus Semien. He's going to be over at second base. We got third base covered by Biggio, even Vladdy if they want to give him a couple starts. So we're feeling good there in that scenario. In fact, the Jays lineup and their complete bench, we're pretty much set. I mean, we could always use a bit of an upgrade in catching, but we got to give Jano another shot anyways. Really, the only deficit I'm happy to say that the Jays have is a rotation, but it's a big deficit, and it might be our Achilles heel going into the season. But it'll be interesting to see what happens with the Mets and what return they get on Chris Bryant or Matt Chapman. is going to determine what type of return Cleveland gets on all-star switch hitter Jose Ramirez. And he's the biggest steal third baseman out there. I think that's why Oakland's getting a little bit more aggressive and maybe trading Chapman, simply because they don't want to get caught up next year and being competitive with Cleveland. If it's a choice between Chapman and Ramirez, there's no question. People are going to go towards Ramirez. He's a switch hitter. He's an all-star. He can play defense better than most third basemen. I think he's like rated third or fourth in all best third basemen right now. You just can't get somebody better than that as a number 2 in your starting lineup, in my opinion. And that's going to be the nice thing about Cleveland, because Cleveland, you know what? People were like, oh, they traded away Lindor. They didn't do a lot of signings. But, you know, Cleveland's still going to have a decent team moving into next season. You know, they still got Shane Bieber. They still got Ramirez. You know, the list goes on there. They got enough pieces. And if they continue to trade these guys patiently and smartly and get these returns, Cleveland's going to have a booming farm system by the end of 2022. And when they do trade away Shane Bieber, that return is going to be unbelievable. Yeah, I like Biggio at third base. That's the nice thing about having Biggio. He's a super utility guy. He can play the outfield. I'm not big on Biggio in the outfield. I think that's where he plays, you know, I don't want to say the least, but he's not an outfielder to me. I see Biggio as very comparable to DJ LeMahieu, obviously more than 10 years younger. But Kevin Biggio is that guy that you can just plot anywhere within the infield, and he's going to rock. That's why I don't want Biggio to go away. He's a lot like Ha-Seong Kim, who the Padres picked up. It's nice when you can get somebody who can hit well, hit consistently, and you can stick in multiple situations, especially as the season goes on, as players get hurt. It allows you to have that versatility, and having that versatility isn't something the Jays have had in a long time. So I'm very impressed like this. I love how we've built this team up for this playoff run that's going to happen. We're a lot more consistent than even when we had Donaldson, Batista, and Edwin. I'm not saying anything against those three, but we're a lot more of a, I don't want to say consistent again, but balanced lineup. So it's very exciting to see what we have. And the people coming up are unbelievable. Groshans, Austin Martin. It's great. Martin's going to be the center fielder. We got Groshans coming in. He's going to be maybe shortstop or third baseman. So it's awesome. Yeah, and Jansen, it's going to be interesting. Jano is going to have a tough year this year. This is the first year where Jano's really had some competition with Kirk. Everybody's talking Kirk. I love Alejandro Kirk. I like his story. I like his personality. I've been following him lately on Twitter, seeing some of the stuff that he's doing down in Mexico for the community there. So he's an all-around decent guy just to begin with. And he kind of reminds me of that, you know, he reminds me of a better version of Navarro. Navarro was kind of like that tubby catcher that we had. You kind of loved him, kind of stunk. He was one of those filler catchers during the Jays' down years. But to go back to what I was originally saying, this is the first year where Jano has competition from Kirk. So if Kirk comes up and he is hitting, I mean, Jano's going to be your guy for 4 out of 5, but Kirk's going to be that guy. I think he's going to fill in on the 5th day. The only thing that I could see happening with Alejandro Kirk, and I completely understand if the Jays do this, is simply maybe they want him to play every day so he goes down to AAA. Maybe that's it. I'm not big on the Jano-Reese combo, but that could certainly happen for the Jays this year. And maybe you see Kirk come up from time to time. But I would love to see Kirk in the Jays lineup. Just send Reese McGuire packing. We got enough catchers anyways, and that's what I could see. But I don't know. It's going to come down to, I guess, how Alejandro Kirk plays during spring training. If he shows up and he's ready and he wants that backup catcher position, it's going to be his. It's his to earn. So it's all going to come down to spring training with Kirk, and we'll go from there. He's one of those players, though, that are certainly on the cusp of making the team. And the only reason why he won't make the Jays isn't because of his ability. It's because the Jays will want to finesse his ability down in the minors. Aaron Sanchez. Somebody brought Aaron Sanchez up, and I was really excited that they did. I don't know why the Jays don't take a chance on Aaron Sanchez. You could sign him to a minor league deal. It's going to cost us, what, $500,000? I don't know how much minor league deal goes. put him down in AAA, and turn Aaron Sanchez into the reliever that he should have been. If Aaron Sanchez is a reliever, you're limiting him to 1 innings. You're going to certainly reduce any of those blister issues that was coming up. So if you remember Aaron Sanchez, blister after blister after blister with this guy. I just don't think he's durable enough to be a starter. Sorry. And now he's had some injuries with his shoulder and his elbow. But I don't like giving up on him. I think it comes down to Chris Carpenter. Maybe I have some, because of the whole Chris Carpenter story. If you don't know, go back and Google it. Basically what happened was Chris Carpenter kept getting hurt with the Jays over and over again. There was talk about making him a reliever. Ultimately, the Jays just cut him from the organization. He was picked up, and Chris Carpenter ended up becoming one of the best pitchers in baseball. So maybe that's why I'm like, maybe we should give Sanchez another start. But yeah, I don't think he's going to stay healthy. Somebody just said that, and I completely agree. So he's pitching, I guess, or he just recently pitched, or he's about to pitch Monday. So we'll have to wait and see how that goes. He's taking to the mound. But this is actually the 3rd time he's pitched for clubs this offseason. So, where there was other players who pitched for organizations, they were signed very quickly. Not the case with Aaron Sanchez, so maybe the scouts or maybe the organizations are just seeing something that's just not being explicitly said in the news. But I really, really hope that Aaron Sanchez finds a home somewhere. I do hope he stays healthy. I like Sanchez. Stroman's a lot like Bauer. When Stroman left, I was like, okay, I think it's time for Stroman to go. But I was always sad to see Aaron Sanchez go. And then we trade Aaron Sanchez away and him and Joe Biagini throw a no-hitter. That made it sting for every Blue Jays fan. Then he got hurt and it was a complete disaster. But when we first traded him away and he threw that no-hitter, every Jays fan was like, oh my God, what have we done? Now it makes a little bit more sense when you see the entire Aaron Sanchez picture. We'll do a couple more questions and we'll finish up for today. Sorry for rambling on. Somebody said the Jays and the Yankees. I can't wait for opening day. Hyun-Jin Ryu going up against Garrett Cole for the Yankees. Really, it's going to be a pitcher's duel. Cole's a little bit better. It's going to be the first test of the Jays lineup, though. So this is the opportunity for the Jays to really hit this one out of the park, literally, and bat their way to a win. I can't wait for opening day. I'm really excited this year. So even if the Jays aren't playing in Canada, I think it's going to be an awesome season. I can see fans playing actually in the Skydome for Canada Day. That's my fingers crossed. That's my hope for the Jays, that we get players going back across the border by July, and everything's sort of slowly turning into some sort of normalcy. We'll have to wait and see, but it's going to be a great year, and I can't wait. And I'm even excited about spring training this year. So I'm just hoping everybody stays healthy. They seem to have a lot of policies and procedures in place to keep that integrity there. So fingers crossed that we're off to a good start. And last but not least, as we finish up today, mid-season trades. So somebody was talking about that, and that's funny. What's the next move for the New York Yankees? I say the Yankees and the Jays are going to wait a little bit now. I think a lot of the teams are kind of set to a certain degree. You're going to see some moves, maybe like Chris Bryant getting shipped off to the Mets. We're pretty much set for all the ball clubs. We're just adding small little pieces here and there. What's going to happen for the Yankees? I think it's going to be rotation. I think the Yankees and the Blue Jays are going to find themselves in a position come June, July, where they both need solid starters. And it's actually going to be a fist fight between the Yankees and the Jays of who they get. And I think it might be a bit to the Jays' benefit, because the Jays are going to push hard maybe for Sonny Gray. He seems to be right in line with the Jays' payroll. I'm hoping he can pitch in the American League again. And Sonny Gray and the Yankees didn't leave on the best sort of terms, so maybe the Jays have a bit of an edge there to get Sonny Gray, but you never know what the Yankees do. But that's certainly where I could see that happening. Sorry about that, just had a interruption there. So we'll just have to wait and see, but that's probably what's going to happen there with the Jays and the Yankees. It's going to be a big rotation piece, and it's going to be a sprint towards the All-Star break of who gets that rotation piece. And that's the big midseason trade that I think the Jays are going to do. As I said, it's going to be Tellez or Lourdes. One of those two are going to get shipped out, and we're going to get a solid number 2 starter. Unless, of course, the Blue Jays completely decline and something happens. I don't know. I apologize. I got my some footing on there. So I'm just turning this off for a second. That way we don't have to be interrupted anymore. And continuing on. Sorry about that. Usually, let me just turn that off. There we go. Apologies. First time somebody's ever called me in the middle of a live stream. So sorry about that. But yeah, Wilson Contreras, it's another one too that I could see happening. But yeah, I think it's going to be starting pitching that everybody's running for in the American League, even Tampa Bay. So we'll just have to wait and see. And that's what's going to lead to 2022. The last thing that I'll comment on here before we wrap up for today and answer any more questions. Look at the starters that could be available in 2022, and maybe this is why the Jays are just being a little bit patient. Possibly Clayton Kershaw. Verlander for sure. Matt Shizer. Noah Syndergaard. Wow. Unbelievable. Any one of those four would be great. Maybe we'll put Verlander at the end, but Verlander's like fine wine. He's like Cologne. Bartolo Colon. Sorry, I love Bartolo. But he just seems to keep going and pitching well. Year after year after year, even into his high 30s. So I would be okay with that myself. Noah Syndergaard, if we could get him back, wow, that would be unbelievable. I was always a little bit upset there with the Jays trade there when we traded R.A. Dickey. Nothing against R.A. Dickey. He was awesome. He certainly helped us out through the organization, helped us through that, postseason run. But when you saw Noah Syndergaard develop with the Mets, every Jays fan went, oh, he's just so good. But the 2022, unbelievable. There's such a big crowd there of starters. Can't believe who is going to go where. And that's really exciting. In 2022, we even have these lineup. Trevor Story is going to be available. It just goes on and on with the list of players. So I'm kind of glad in a lot of ways the Jays didn't overspend this year, because the flexibility that we have for 2022 to make maybe another big signing is huge. We'll just have to wait and see. Now, as I finish up today, I just want to thank everybody. Sorry for the interruption there. I apologize for that. Got that sorted out. But just want to thank everybody who has supported me all along here. We're at 500 subscribers, actually 530. I've only been doing this for 2.5 months. I just ordered a green screen. It hasn't come in yet, so we're going to be making some improvements. I know if you've watched my vlogs over the last little bit, we've had some, things where we have changed angles or things like that. So we're going to get a little bit more consistent on those things. But I just wanted to let you know I really appreciate everybody supporting me. I'm going to be doing a vlog in the next 2 days. It's going to be one of those things where you answer a trivia question, and what we're actually giving away is a cameo by Nate Pearson. So if you don't know what cameo is, basically Nate Pearson is going to give you a call, give you a nice little 1 or 2 minute personalized message, but that is the giveaway to say thank you guys for supporting me. So check out that vlog. It's going to come in the next few days. Answer the trivia question, and then when we talk again on February 28th for our next live stream at 1:30 p.m., we'll do a draw, pull somebody out, and you're going to win a cameo with Nate Pearson. Just a way to say thank you for supporting me early on here before we have any bells and whistles and any of those things happening. Just a big thank you. So I hope everybody stays safe. Just want to say happy Valentine's Day if you're a Valentine's Day person, and we'll talk soon. Hit subscribe if you haven't. Thank you again for tuning in on Sunday. Take care, guys. Bye now.